Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are looking at some more unofficial dev server patch notes by Mike 10D today, and the main takeaways are changes to the IS-7 and also the Russian ships tree has been added. Also on top of this, the images for the Russian ships have been added as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait for this and look through them here. As you can see, all of them are available. So we'll have a look and see what's going on with them. It seems like a very similar structure to what we have in the US and the Germans. So you have a light cruiser, you have a bunch of destroyers, you have a ton of PT boats, and you have a few gunboats. That seems to be the general way that the Russian ships tree is going. So what we'll see is the gunships annihilating PT boats, and then whoever has the bigger guns winning. So that'll be fun. But anyway, moving on, we have changes to the IS-7. I apologize for that. That's my phone being a bit annoying. But anyway, the changes to the IS-7, the first one is the reload time is going up from 7.5 seconds to 10 seconds. Now, 7.5 seconds was incredibly low, especially for one which was a stock 7.5 seconds. This means that no matter how much you change the loading crew on your crew skill, it was always going to be 7.5 seconds because it took the reload from the autoloader, not the two loaders in the machine who actually load the autoloader. So overall, bumping it up to 10 seconds still means it's a very good reload, better than all of the other IS series of tanks, and also I'm pretty sure you can't change that reload since it'll still be on the autoloading system. We'll have to see going forward, but 10 makes a lot more sense than a 130mm, which is just able to fire every 7.5 seconds. The max gun dispersion has gone down though by 0.03. This means that, now I might be wrong on this, but I think this is how it works. The lower the number, the better it is, because the gun dispersion is basically how far away the round can be compared to where you fire it. So the lower it is, the better it is. So right now, being at 0.035, it's much more accurate than 0.065. If I'm wrong about that, please correct me. The gun sight is changed from TSH-46B to the TSH-46. I'm guessing that is a nerf in some way. I'm not exactly sure what the difference is, but generally, with the nomenclature they've used, the 46B is normally better than the 46. The max zoom FOV has increased, and so has the gun sights. I'm guessing he's done a typo there, but basically both of them have increased. So even though they've used a different, well, the fact that they've used a different gun sight means that the field of view has changed as well, meaning that the gun sight max zoom, the field of view being 10.5, it should not zoom as far. But we'll have to see when it actually comes out. The zoom on the gun before wasn't actually that good, and now it should be slightly worse, if I'm getting this right, because if you have a wider field of view, that generally means you haven't magnified as close to a target. So something like a Leopard should have a really small field of view because it has really good optics on it, but something like a Conqueror would have quite a large field of view. I might be wrong on that again though, but that to me would make sense. The main changes is the AP round, or the APHE round. They've changed its penetration, meaning that from the range of 10 to the range of 750, it's lost penetration. On most of them, such as the 500 and the 750, it doesn't really matter. We're talking about 5mm, but on the others, we're talking more about 10mm. Now, 10mm can make a decent amount of difference. This is if you are close corners with the IS-7, and I feel like the IS-7 is going to be the best in either close corners or being a flanking tank on the larger maps. So, when you're a flanking tank, generally these penetrations don't really matter because you want to shoot stuff in the weak spots when you have time, or shoot people in the side so you don't have to worry about it. But if you're up and personal, you have to be accurate and quick, and with lower penetration, that's obviously going to be harder to do. From 1,000 to 2,000 though, it does increase a little bit, mainly by about 5 or just less than 5mm, and Once again, not that much of a change. It seems like they're just going much more accurate on the ammunition tables. The ammunition tables that I saw personally for this APHE round are now much more realistic compared to what the old penetration was, especially at lower ranges. So overall, that's nice to see. But just understand that from 10 to 750, you have a minor nerf. From 1000 to 2000, a minor buff. It's not going to make that much of a difference. It just means in those situations where you have to snapshot or something, you're going to have to be a little bit more precise with the machine, which is alright. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So we have a bunch of new text lines in, and the text lines in themselves, basically, a lot of them are either to do with Operation S.U.M.M.E.R, or they're to do with what I believe is the IS-7. So the first one is the first stage ammo stowage, and then automatic loading, max speed forward, max speed backwards, and transmission gears. Now the gears, the max speeds, they can be generalized to every vehicle. The first stage ammo stowage and also the auto load. Obviously there's a lot of machines that we have in game which have auto loaders now, so maybe this is just trying to sort out, the difference between them, trying to make it a little bit more precise now that we have the IS-7 and it's very unclear whether it is, manually loaded or automatically loaded. I mean, it's obvious a mixture of both, but how is it determined in game? What is its description in game? So for me, I'm guessing they've put in these lines to try and differentiate between them. We'll have to see though. The optic zoom, of course, being the zoom, which is nice. And then now we get on to the Operation S.U.M.M.E.R stuff. So they've put in an exchange for items. I'm guessing this is if you have extra parts at the end of it, you'll be able to exchange them, so that's nice. And now we get into the recipe stuff. So, this is what I will have to explain tomorrow, I think, when we actually see what's going on, because I fully don't understand what's going on with the recipe stuff. Basically, the way I see it is you have a common component, which is parts, and then you have to pick a part or a part of the vehicle that you're building, let's say, aka gun in this sense. You pick the gun as the recipe, and then it tells you what you need to build the gun. So you'll probably need some kind of rare parts, and then you'll probably need a bunch of parts, and then you put them together, and it creates the recipe. Therefore, that part of the tank is done, and then moving on, you go on to the next part, and then the next part, and then the next part, right? So that, to me, makes sense. Also, there's an idea of resources. How does resources tie into all of this? Now, all of these text lines here, which are called items/recipes, and then so on, seem to be to do with this idea, because this is the change from the April Fool's event. This is the bit which is slightly different. So hopefully it's not too confusing, but with all of these text lines, you never know. So we have mark is incorrect, unmark, this is an incorrect recipe, this is a true recipe, mark is incorrect, this is an incorrect recipe, you cannot collect the selected item from it, this is a true recipe, on use, you can collect the selected item. You marked this recipe as incorrect, but still do not know if it's possible to collect the selected item. Simple as that. So, basically, you've got a binary of 1, 0, and then 0, 1, or 1, 0. So, you've got a plus, a minus, and a maybe when it comes to this, which is a little bit confusing. But yeah, I don't know anything about this new system, so I'll make sure when it drops tomorrow, I have a video out explaining how it works. The last time we did this for Operation S.U.M.M.E.R, a few days ago, it took about 3 hours to work out everything. So, maybe give us a little bit of time to show you how it works. But yeah, I'll make sure to help. What is also troubling, which was mentioned in the Operation S.U.M.M.E.R, is that there's some kind of time limit thing going on with these crafting processes. And I'm guessing the idea is once you craft one of these recipes, it takes time to build it. Now, I don't think this is required. I don't think we need a time limit, because the time limit is in getting the resources when we are building the thing. So I might be, once again, might be completely wrong on that, but it just seems odd that there's time limits on this. Then you have finish, and items used in the assembly, and then cancel. So that's all good. Remember, they did say in the Operation Summer thing that you will have a full refund on the parts that you put into the assembly if you've realized you built the wrong thing. But yeah, that is something to think about while you are building. You can actually build the wrong thing. I am so worried about this because it just sounds very convoluted, and this is the bit that's going to trip a lot of people up, to be honest. And then we have the assembly was successful. You found the true recipe, which is, I don't like how that's written, and the recipe was wrong, items returned. Why don't I like this? Well, the fact that there's something about me finding a true recipe. Now, this could just be me, like, you have to find the true recipe for the part that you're building, or is it that you've entered a world where this is a typo? Whereas this should just be you have completed the recipe. So you get the recipe beforehand and you complete it. That sounds alright. If it's you need to play battles and hope to get the right recipe, sure. No. We're not doing this. We're not doing this because you're adding an RNG element on top of an RNG element, which is on top of another RNG element. You're getting parts as the RNG element, which creates resources, which is another RNG element, but it's dependent on parts, so we don't count that. Then you got the rares, then you got the RNG recipes, if that's a thing, and then you've also got the other one, which is the RNG for multiple rares instead of just singular ones. So all of that doesn't sound good to me. That sounds really bad. So it'd be nice to take a layer away from that. If I'm reading it wrong, fair enough. You can try to create an item according to one of count-colored recipes, find the right one among them. Don't do this. If this is what I just described, don't do this. This is a really bad idea. Right now, there's quite a large vocal minority which doesn't like this event. Most of the time, it's the case that you have a vocal minority which doesn't like any event, and they're always going to complain. This decision turns that minority into a majority. Even though you get fully reimbursed on the parts that you need to create, or the recipes that you need to create, putting a timer on it, when you already have a timer for when you can get these parts, and rares, which are tied to the recipes, is going to annoy so many people. This is a terrible idea, if this is what you're doing. So then we have find the true recipe for assembling the item. You cannot cancel the assembly of this item. Are you sure you want to cancel the assembly of the item? Then this is incorrect, And then a bunch of stuff to do with reverse speed. If you want to read it yourself, you can. Some of it is to do with the Soviet ships. But the main thing I wanted to focus on is the crafting stuff for the second stage, which really worries me. Let's move on to the Soviet ships. So this is the PR1124 Art. It is the version of the standard premium ship that we have that you had to buy, which is this one with the Katyusha rockets. As you can see, it has an extra T-34 turret, so I think it'll be more useful than the rockets one, but it depends how good the rockets are. Then you have the BMO, which is a pseudo gunship. Then you have the Krasny Kavats, which is a wonderful name, and is actually the light cruiser of the Soviets. That's nice to see. Then you have the D3 here, which looks like a gunboat, which will get annihilated by bigger gunboats. It may have torpedoes on the back, I'm not sure. The PR-7Y, the Project 7Y, the Project 7Y Stronyi. So these are your destroyers. This is the G5. A really cool little thing. but it'll be useless. And then you have the MBK 16143, and these are basically your gunboats, which will get annihilated by destroyers. Here's another one. And then here's another one. It seems like the Russians really liked their terrible... the way I describe them is light destroyers, because in game right now, basically any of those boats just get up-tiered into destroyers, and destroyers annihilate them, because destroyers are just better versions of them. The MPK 122 looks interesting. The MPK 122 Biz also does, and the MPK 163. Then you have the OD 200, the PR 1204, then the late version, the BIS of the 123, which has really big torpedo tubes on it, and then the PR 123K with some interesting guns on the back, and then the hydrofoil, the PR 183, and then the 191, the 191M, and the 206, and what looks like another hydrofoil, the 206M, the 159, the 5, and the PR 1124 AC, which has basically T-34 turrets upgraded. It seems like it has the 42 ones instead of the 40s. So overall, these are all of the Soviet ships. I don't find anything interesting here when it comes to ships. They all look very similar to what we've seen from the other nations, and the issue with that is it's whoever has the bigger guns wins. Maybe with these ships we see some armor changes to the ships, so I can't just run around with my LCS and get a 10 KD, or my SF-40s and get a 10 KD, because those are the meta right now, and they will be for a long time, because as I said, it's whoever has the bigger guns, it's whoever has the more amount of bigger guns. Simple as that. And I don't know how you change it. I've said it from day one. That's why adding battleships, that's why adding heavy cruisers, light cruisers, it don't fix anything. It just means you have something else to grind that'll annihilate everything else. It's a sad state of affairs for ships, but it's how it is. Go and look at other games and you'll see why they're not very popular compared to aircraft and tank games. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Sorry it's been a bit of a downer, but hopefully tomorrow we have a little bit of confidence in the recipe knot. If not, I may be shouting my head off. We'll see. Hope you have a lovely day.